Anybody that has experienced the job searching phase can tell you it is not something that is pleasant. It is time consuming and it is not easy. I myself have experienced this and I can tell you it is no place to be. In this new professional development series that I've titled Plan and Shine, I intend to bring you content on job search, specifically job application, interviews, salary negotiation, and even strategies you can use in the workplace to stay productive. Now, when searching for a job, there are three phases you go through. The pre-application stage, where you are putting together your documents and making sure that you are having the appropriate plan in place before you start job searching, and the application phase, which includes sending out your resume, your cover letter, portfolios, and even sitting down for interviews and getting hired. Now, the post-application stage is the steps that you are required to take after being offered a job. Now, in this particular video, I'm going to share with you some strategies that you can implement in terms of planning and preparing before you even start your job search. I believe that the strategies that I'm going to share with you will not only put you ahead of other candidates, but will make you successful in your endeavor. Now, if you are currently working in an organization and you are looking for new opportunities, or you recently graduated from college or from some vocational training, and a paycheck will go a long way to help you square away your bills, the first thing you need to do is conduct a self-reflection. This involves basically taking into consideration your situation, skill set, the job market, and your future goal. For instance, if you're currently working, you want to be able to ask yourself, what is not working? How can I get it improved? Do I definitely need exit out of where I'm working? Can I save the situation? Now, don't get me wrong, people leave for various reasons, but you want to leave when you are absolutely sure that the situation you're facing is completely unsolvable, or the fact that continuing working in that organization could negatively impact your mental health, or the job is simply not right for you. It could also be that where you currently work, there is no opportunity for growth, and so you don't see yourself advancing in terms of learning new things, different roles, or climbing the ladder of leadership. If it is an issue of a paycheck, I believe that that is something that you could probably discuss with your supervisor or your boss at the time and see if that could be resolved. You may want to come to the meeting with fact of your input, achievement, and things that you've been able to work over the time that you were there, and argue for a pay raise. And in most cases, you are likely to get a pay raise. But if that doesn't happen and you feel that you are being shortchanged and you want to go elsewhere, that is completely fine. Now, if this is your first rodeo after completing college or some sort of vocational training, or even self-teaching yourself, and you want to go out there and get some work to do, you want to be honest with yourself, assess yourself and capabilities against the kind of job that you want to apply to. If you do not have a particular company or institutions you want to work at, my advice would be to approach it from the perspective of industry. So say you finished a degree in computer engineering, I'll go on Google and simply search great place to work as a computer engineer. Whereas you might want to take the results that come back with a pinch of salt, it will still be beneficial to have an idea of where people are having the most fulfillment in terms of work. And so for me, I may settle to work in higher education simply because I love teaching and learning, and I believe that is the industry that I will make the most impact. I will note this down, and the next thing that I will do is look at my skill set and compare people that are in that industry and the kind of tools and strategies that you're using to be successful. Two places that you can get this information will be LinkedIn, searching people in your field, or YouTube, Googling videos that have been created by people that are working in your field. And this is particularly important because in any industry, in any position, there is a learning curve. But yet still, you want to come to that position having the core or foundational capabilities to be able to do your work well. Doing this research ahead of time will serve you and your employer. And the reason I say that is with this information, you'll be able to plan ahead, be able to learn some skills, and at least have the basic knowledge about how to do your work, so that the time and energy and resources that will be committed in terms of providing you training can be committed somewhere else. So list all the skills or the tools that they use, and you may want to pick one or two of those skills that will require limited resources to learn in terms of cost and also time, and then commit yourself to learn those skills during the period of your application. Now, this may sound obvious. The default for us is to have our CV, cover letters ready, but this goes beyond that. I have had the experience during my application season where I'll be applying to a job and then I'll read a fine line and I will get to know that they are requiring something that I have not prepared ahead of time. During your skill search period, try and look out for some of the things that the people in your field are preparing or creating and see if you'll be able to create those. For instance, if you are going to be a product designer for an institution, you may want to at least have a portfolio of some products that you've designed. And so this will be a time for you to actually create 3 or 5 designs as your portfolio and have it ready on hand during your application to send it when they request. And this is important because employees may want to ask for more documentation, more evidence to corroborate with the skill set and qualifications that they are looking for that position. Now, during my job search, there were times that I received calls from prospective employers and I had no idea that 1, I applied for that job, and 2, what position that they are calling me about. I will say I kept track of my application materials, and so I can tell you off the bat that within the period of 1 year, I had applied to about 500 or more jobs. But I used the traditional way. I was just renaming application folders and files according to the institutions that I applied. So that gave me an idea of those positions. But soon I came to realize that there is a better way to track your application. Now, for those of you that are very fancy, that are familiar with Notion, there is already a job tracker templates that are available for you that you can use to track all your application. But for those of you that are heavily reliant on almighty Microsoft, a simple Microsoft spreadsheet will do the magic. You want to create an Excel sheet with these columns: job title, date of application, status, and website link. So anytime you submit an application, fill this form up, and the only time you will come back to update it is when there's a status change. So for instance, an organization reached back to you for, say, an interview. You want to go back and change the status from application submitted to interview. Now, this will not only help you track your applications, but will offer you valuable data that you cannot get from anywhere. So for instance, after a month or 2, you may want to go back to that data and then review it. You want to be able to look at those applications that the status changed from submitted to interview to see what was working for you and replicate that for subsequent applications, so that you are not doing the same things over and over again, but you are evolving with the data that you yourself are able to generate. Now, if this sounds interesting to you, I'll be leaving a link to a sample that I created so that you can have a head start and simply change it to suit your circumstance. These days, many companies want to avoid public embarrassment and shame, and so they invest much time to investigate the candidate that they are hiring. This goes beyond background check. They may want to simply do a Google search of the candidates that they are anticipating to hire and see what they are up to on social media. Now, a lot of people have come against this act and have suggested that it is against their fundamental human right, which is very agreeable. But think about it. Organizations do have certain image, standard, and culture that they want to maintain that we know them to stand for. So if you have anything that does not fall in line with that company, do well to delete it or to hide it from a simple Google search. And there are times that all of us, we've posted something on Facebook and we will realize that it is in a bad taste. If you have any of such content on your social media, kindly either delete it or hide it. You may want to also remove any content that violates other people's rights or you yourself consider unprofessional. While calling an apple tomatoes on your Facebook may land you a lucrative deal on Comedy Central, body shaming, bullying, posting violent content, and illegal stuff will definitely not get you the job. And so if you don't feel like removing it from your social media pages, do yourself a favor and restrict your posts to your friend and not your friend's your friend. Now, depression that comes with job search is usually connected to the fact that doing so many applications yield fewer responses. This rabbit hole is difficult to escape and is very real. You do not want to be depressed and stressed during this phase because it's already a challenging phase to bear with. I experienced this multiple times during my job search and was oblivious to the strategy that I'm about to share with you. And so from hindsight, here are a few things that you can do to stay sane whilst you are job hunting. Prepare yourself mentally and know that a rejection is not an indication that you're a failure or you are less qualified. In most job advertising, there are thousands of people that apply to that job. Recruiters have to face that burdensome task of selecting one candidate to fill that position. While there are some mechanics that may put other people ahead of you, it is simply at the discretion of the recruiters who they want to hire and who they want to work with. And so for the jobs that you may be applying to, the dice may roll in favor of others, but that shouldn't be an indication that you're a failure and you're not qualified for the job. Point 2, application takes a long time. While the agency of needing a job may be there, hiring processes take some time. From job posting to submission of application to review of application to putting together a hiring committee to do the interviews and assess candidates. In some cases, site visits or multiple interviews with team members and filling HR paperwork, going through training, and finally getting an offer and starting a job. The earliest that this process could complete is at least 2 months. And so trust the process and be patient. Point 3, do something while you wait. Now, my difficulty was that in most of this time that I was job hunting, I was virtually doing nothing, no hobby, and while in away time. There were a few times that I would go out there and do some other jobs, but averagely, I wasn't learning a new hobby, I wasn't learning a new skill, and that will let your stress compound. And so if step 1 was of any importance to you, this will be a very good time to start honing on your skills and your capabilities, making sure that you are well prepared for the positions that you are applying for. And also, if you know you are all set in those areas, get a hobby. It may be a good idea to learn how to play the guitar, play soccer, painting, cooking, do something. See the jobs that you are interviewing for as not a means to an end, but also an opportunity for you to connect with several people. If you don't get offered a job and you are called for an interview, see that as an opportunity and reach out to the recruiter or the hiring manager and say, hey, even though I wasn't given that job, I want to connect with you on a professional level so that I may be learning from you, sharing ideas, and communicating from time to time. I will usually send out a LinkedIn connection to the hiring manager, and 9 out of 10 they will connect with me. Recently I've had conversations with a few of them and it was really helpful. They gave me ideas and suggestions of how I can be a better employee in my current role. So as time goes on, you'll be widening out your net and connecting with people that are valuable in your circle. Have a plan and a system in place that will keep you going. And until you put in your application and your resume out there, the job is not going to come to you, no matter how qualified you are. My plan was to send out at least 2 applications every day. Some days I go above that. But what this meant was that in a month, at most, I had about 62 applications. I continued this trend for at least 3 months. And by the end of the 3-month mark, I would have had about 186 applications sent out. Now, during this time, I needed to have some source of income, so I did some part-time jobs and delivery jobs, and that helped me pay my bills and, stay afloat. Now, in some cases, most people will think that this is unrelated to their field and may disregard that experience. But in subsequent videos, I'll be sharing with you how you can use this experience to demonstrate to potential recruiters that indeed you are the right candidate for the job. Now, I hope you found this video very helpful. Share your views and your opinion with me in the comment section. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you do not miss any video from this series. And until we meet again, stay healthy, stay safe, and as always, have a good one.